This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for One in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John DiNallo. And it is actually a Tuesday, and we are on live on a Tuesday at 3:30, our regular time. How do you like that, Paul?
I'm amazed, Karen. It's a tribute to you as the producer of our show that you got us on the right day and the right time. I give all the credit to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, we're back
Yes,
home.
yeah. None to John, but we'll get to him later. Before we go off on a tangent, as we are wont to do, yes, you are listening to What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news program. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. I am your host, Paul Seaburn. I call us a show. We really are a podcast. So let's describe us as we are. We come to you every week on newclevelandradio.net. That's our platform. Karen is the media mogul there, as well as our producer and one of our co-hosts. Go to visit newclevelandradio.net. You find out how to download us, where to find us for free. No matter where you find us, we're always free. And then find all the other great podcasts that Karen has. Excuse me. Also some information on Yes I Can coaching with Karen, which is our sponsor. So you get all that information there at newclevelandradio.net. So that's voice number one in your ear. Voice number two is my old buddy John DiNallo, who is our color commentator. He is our sports guy and all-around good guy. Hey, John, how you doing today?
Hey, Paul and Karen. Great. Again, it feels like being at home at the 3:30 slot on Tuesday. So, yeah, really looking forward to the podcast.
Yeah, well, it's unusual also for Karen and myself, especially because yesterday we did another podcast.
Very good.
Avoid the Maze, which is Karen's podcast. So I got to be a guest rather than being the host. And I already know the answer to this, but I'll ask Karen. So do I talk more when I'm the host or when I'm the guest?
As the guest. But it was wonderful, because I have to tell our listeners that you got to listen to the podcast if you really want to know Paul's story. I mean, I thought I knew Paul's story until yesterday, and it is really very interesting how you took your very strict Catholic upbringing to become this fun, loving person on a podcast.
That's too funny. And before I before we go too far, to all of our Catholic friends out there, I don't blame the Catholic religion for all the years of therapy or anything like that, but only as a joke, as John knows. We always like to joke about going to Catholic grade school and high school and college. But anyways, yeah, it was a good time, and Karen invited me back today, so she didn't throw us off the platform. Yeah, it would have been just Karen and John today. Oh boy.
Boy.
All right. Well, speaking of interesting shows, I hope that's what we have today. I should know. I put it together. Every week, you join us to listen to the strange, the weird, the wonderful news from around the world, around the universe. And I'll mention why I say that today in a second. But that's what we like to bring you. Not the bad news, not the business, the politics, the religion, all those other things. Just some weird, strange, funny stuff that tickles my fancy, tickles our fancy. And then we proceed to hopefully tickle your fancy a little bit with us talking about it, and having fun with it. So that's the goal of What in the World. And if you're listening to us live, or if you're listening to us in the future, wherever you're at, thank you for joining us. And let's get right to it, because I know we got some fun stuff today. Speaking of which, so today we have to wish everybody a happy World UFO Day, because today is UFO Day. This is the anniversary. July 2nd. July 2nd is the anniversary. I don't know how many years, you can do the math, of the incident at Roswell in 1947. Some people went out into the desert and they found pieces of metal that they could not identify, and that became the story of the Roswell spaceship crash and aliens and all the other conspiracy theories that have evolved around that, to the point where Roswell has a museum, and the city runs on aliens and UFOs. So today we celebrate the World UFO Day. Probably should be Universal UFO Day, since we don't know where they're coming from. They're not coming from the world. I suppose they're visiting us, but visit other planets too. So happy UFO Day, everybody. Let's see. Oh, toilet, another story. We go from UFOs to toilet. We got a story about toilets where you least expect them. Wait till you hear this. In Ohio, so that nice a local twist to this. Snakes where you least expect them. This story's from Thailand. A very loud new fitness craze. We bring you everything. We got all kinds of subjects on What in the World. Bigfoot news. John's always ready for the Bigfoot news. We got Bigfoot news from West Virginia, from New York, and Mothman shows up where you least expect them. Mothman's a cryptid we don't always talk about too often. So really fun story about the Mothman. Plus we got world records. We got more odd news. I have a sport. John has an unusual sport as well. So, you get your sports fix here on What in the World, just like you get all your weird news. So let's get right to it. Put that paper over here. Let's get to the script. And again, happy World UFO Day. The July 2nd, as I mentioned, is the anniversary of Roswell. So we're going to celebrate World UFO Day here on What in the World. And I'm going to do that by introducing our new co-host. Our new co-host is a naked alien. Now, she also knows a lot of trivia. So John, I hate to say this, but we're gonna be bumping you down the ladder a little bit because she's naked and she knows trivia. So unless you're gonna get naked for us,
no, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
So of course, all of our regular listeners and John and Karen know what I'm talking about, and that is my book. There it is. What would you say to a naked space alien? Available now on Amazon.com. We don't have to talk too much about it. It's a bunch of my favorite stories about alien encounters from around the world. There's some rock and roll twist to them. There's some other kind of music. There's strange aliens bringing waffles. Strange aliens coming naked. Obviously, that's the title of the book. So please check it out. The places to check it out would be on Amazon. There's the address up here on the screen. Easiest way to do it, go to my website, paulseaburn.com. I have a link there. I also have a link to What in the World. So you just go there and you can get to all the places that you really need to go to, and none of that other stuff that you shouldn't be wasting your time on. Okay. I mention every week that I like to post some of the jokes and stories on Facebook, just a little teaser to see how they work. So if you want to get a beforehand look at what we might be talking about, visit me on Facebook. It's real easy. Just plug in my name and search. So this story was real popular on Facebook. Snake rescuer by the name of Nur Kwai Thai lives in Thailand. He says he just got the strangest call in his entire career of snake hunting, snake rescuing. He was summoned by a man who woke up to find a cobra in his boxer short. A cobra in his boxer short. Well, so as I said on Facebook, all together now, that's what she said. A cobra in his boxer short. To prove it, we have a photo up here. For those of you watching on YouTube, and if you're not, you should be. Maybe not now, but check it out later. There's actually a cobra coming out of this guy's boxer shorts, and the rescuer rescuing him. So Nur Kwai guy said that he needed a hook to coax it out of the guy's shorts. And Nick, a woman, said that to me. Hey, That's what she said. But wait, there's more. He said he'd never seen a cobra that big in somebody's shorts. And the guy said, yeah, that's what she said too. Yay. Okay, we got all those jokes out of the way. Maybe one more. This reminded me, that's that movie Snakes on a Plane. John, did you see Snakes on a Plane?
I did see that movie. It wasn't a very good one, but I did see it. Yeah.
I got a better one for you. I got the porn version of Snakes on a Plane, and that is Snakes on a Pole. No, maybe snakes on a plank, snakes on your caboose. I don't know, wherever it is, that's where this guy had that snake wiggling around until he got rescued.
Ooh.
Think about it though. This is the thing. This guy is in his bedroom. He finds a cobra in his pants. He has enough wherewithal to pick up his phone and call, and he obviously had the number on speed dial. So this it happened before. He called the snake rescuer, who then had to come to his house and get out his equipment, pull the truck up front. He has to put his sign up like they do in Ohio when they're landscaping or the plumber comes. First thing they do before they check your stuff, your toilet, they put their sign up out front so everybody knows that. I won't mention any names. They're out there taking care of your toilet. So that's what he did. Then he comes in and he pulls the snake out and puts it in his bag and gives the guy a bill and gets his money and off he goes. I freak out. I freak out when there's a spider on me or a fly or something. This guy's got a cobra in his pants. John, has that ever happened to you?
I can safely say it has not, and I'm glad to say that it has not. Is there any way to get an idea of how big this cobra snake is or was?
It was a very, very short article. So I'm not sure how long it was. And you can't really tell from the photo as well. Can you hear that phone ringing, or is that
the photo that I'm seeing? It is hard to determine what it is actually.
Yeah, it looks like it may be 3 or 4 feet long. Not a real big. Not a real big cobra.
3 or 4 feet in your pants is big.
That's what she said.
Oh.
We better move on before we really get into the gutter here.
Yeah.
All right. So, moving right along. Declan McFerrin of Northern Ireland set a new Guinness World Record last week when he assembled a Mr. Potato Head toy in, get ready for this, 5.1 seconds. So in less than 6 seconds, he went from a pile of plastic to the Mr. Potato Head completely assembled. And I know all the controversy about we're not supposed to call him Mr. We're just supposed to call him Potato Head. Well, we're going to call him Mr. Potato Head because that's what he looked like here. Although this guy tied another record for the gender neutral Mr. Potato Head, which was in 0 seconds. I mean, all you have to do is hold up. It starts out gender neutral, and then he adds the gender parts to it. So this is the part that amazed me. He credited his success, and he's been practicing this for years. Who has this kind of time? He credited the success of his speedy technique to start. He says, this is, I quote, it was to start with the body, hat, and legs, as all 3 pieces could be put together simultaneously. So he really put some thought into this. So he starts with the legs and the hat. Then he decided it would be best to put in the eyes with my non-dominant hand. So this is ambidextrous Mr. Potato Head assembly here. Simultaneously lifting the nose and scooping his mustache onto the nose piece in one swift motion. Therefore, the eyes, mustache, and nose all will be put on at the same time. Then that would leave me with the ears and the arms. Who knew putting together Mr. Potato Head was so complicated? We had this toy when we were kids. I didn't think that hard about it, other than which eyes to pick. What else is there to think about, John?
No, you're right. There really isn't. I mean, it's pretty basic.
Yeah. Didn't you use a real didn't you use a real potato? Because we did.
Well, yes. It took quite a while before the plastic potato heads came out.
Okay.
I would have thought that the potato industry would have lobbied against the plastic Mr. Potato Head because they were obviously selling a lot of potatoes, which, I know my mom, it didn't matter how many holes I poked into the potato. She still peeled it and mashed it and we ate it for
Yep.
dinner. Which
Sure.
is pretty sad day, when you play with the toy with Mr. Potato Head all day long and then for supper you got to eat him. Oh, geez.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. my my mom used to tell a story about when she was a kid during the Depression, and they had pet rabbits. You can finish the story after that.
Okay.
Okay, another funny story from Facebook. Elvis Presley's iconic blue suede shoes, the actual blue suede shoes that he wore on stage, sold at an auction in England. Yeah, John, take a guess. How much do you think Elvis's blue suede shoes would have sold for?
Oh, let's say $400,000.
I guessed a half a million. They sold for $120,000.
Okay.
Price would have been higher. But the auctioneer kept demanding three bids: one for the money, one for the show, two for the get ready.
you don't look very blue.
They're not very. That's exactly right. It's a weird color. They're almost gray rather than blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all the photos looked the same way. The new owner, though, he was glad to get it for $120,000. He already made his money back selling $1 a sniff, and within hours he had $120,000 collected. So a lot of Elvis fans out there. Now, I never knew how big Elvis's feet were, but he wore these before he went into the army, and his size was 10 and a half. I don't know what the width was, but they were 10 and a half. So pretty small.
Yeah.
Average. I guess average would be for a man. But once he became Fat Elvis, there's no amount of shaking would have gotten his feet into the yeah. Musical trivia. John, Karen, you can play. Everybody out there, you can play. Who wrote the song Blue Suede Shoes?
Oh, I'm going to take a stab and say Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis. Good guess, not the answer. Karen, you got a guess? No.
That's
Carl
not
Perkins.
enough? Oh,
Yeah, Carl Perkins wrote the song. He was a rockabilly singer before Elvis. He wrote it and recorded it in 1955. His version went up to #2 on Billboard. So it did really well. Spent 16 weeks on the best-selling list. And then Elvis recorded it in 1956. So that was a year later, Elvis recorded it. And it was the opening song on his first album, Elvis Presley. It's in the top 500 rock songs of all time. And this I found interesting. Both versions are. Carl Perkins' version is in the top 100. Elvis is down around 300. So the gurus at Rolling Stone decided that Carl Perkins' version, the original, was better than, more influential, let's say, than Elvis's. So there we go. There's our trivia for Elvis. Now, John, we're going to stick with music here for a second. Do you know who MIA is?
MIA.
MIA. This is a person, not a group.
Rapper, possibly.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's the easy
hip hop artist now.
Believe it or not, that is the rap name of a British rapper, a female by the name of I didn't write her name down. She had a big long name. She had a big long name, so I didn't write it down. You can look it up. Here's a picture of her, by the way. There you go. A very lovely lady, very lovely rapper. MIA. So she doesn't forget, she's got it tattooed on her forehead. You can see it. MIA, believe it or not. So her single Paper Planes reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 4 million copies. So I'm surprised, John. You know, you're so on top of modern music. I had no idea who she was. So why are we interested in MIA, you may say? The reason why is because not only is she a musician, but she's a fashion mogul. And she just came out with a new line of clothing, in particular, a new line of hats that our listeners would definitely be interested in because they are tin foil hats. She is selling foil hats to protect you from 5G waves. She says that her foil hats block all 5G waves, along with, geez, I don't know what else. 99% of Wi-Fi, 4G and 5G waves, completely protects your brain from all of that. So she wants to protect humanity, all for $100. Now, I know what John is thinking. John is thinking, I got a pack of aluminum foil, roll aluminum foil in my cabinet. I could make a fortune making aluminum hats here.
You're right, Paul, about that. Yeah.
But here's the problem, John. Here's the problem. Your hat would look like this. Okay. This is the traditional cone head aluminum foil hat that you know, we make fun of all the time. UFO people wear tinfoil hats. Okay, so that's one over here. Or even worse is this guy. Look at that one. You know, he put antenna.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Really strange UFO hat there, foil hat. This is what you get for $100 here from MIA. So 100% brain coverage. It's got a brim around it, made with copper and nickel Faraday fabric, which means you know, those Faraday packets that you're supposed to put your electronics in to protect hackers from getting to them. Reversible. It's even got a reversible two-tone design. So as I said, $100 on her website, MIA.com, I believe it is. Problem with this is that this whole thing with the 5G waves, Karen, you know this after working in an electronics store, it's all been completely debunked. No,
right.
There are no dangers to 5G waves or 4G waves or Wi-Fi. Otherwise, we'd all be dead because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So sorry, MIA, I hate to hurt your sales, but I'm telling our listeners, don't waste your money on $100 MIA hats, foil hats. Do what John does. Go get your Reynolds aluminum wrap. Make yourself a nice one. You know, use a bowl or as a mold, or maybe your Guardian's hat.
Really?
Oh.
Now, I referred to this as a tinfoil hat. So I had to find out what the origin of tinfoil hats is, because I know everybody wants to know, where did that come from? So the tinfoil hat, first mention of tinfoil hats in the media, can be traced back to a very famous person. He wrote a story in 1927 called The Tissue Culture King, kind of a sci-fi story. The main character used a metal hat to protect himself from being mind controlled by the evil scientist. Now, the reason why I say this guy's famous, his name is Sir Julian Huxley. He is the brother of Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, which we all had to read in high school or in college. You know, great book to read, especially today with all the things that are going on in the world. Very, you know, really predicted the future. Aldous did with that book. We still call them tinfoil hats, even though tin has not been sold since World War II. Tin was too expensive to use in World War II, so they switched to aluminum, and the rest is history. We've been using aluminum ever since. So we shouldn't be calling them tinfoil hat. We should be calling them aluminum foil hat, and we shouldn't be talking about them at all because they don't work. But don't tell MIA that. She not only is she selling hats, she has, let me look, ponchos, tops, and pants. She even has aluminum foil pants. Yeah. Can you imagine wearing foil pants all day long?
Yeah.
I don't know how comfortable that would be.
Oh God, John, why not just get an aluminum foil umbrella? You know, cover everything. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, yeah. And remember, it doesn't work. You heard it here. It doesn't work anyways. Okay. So you learn all kind of things on what in the world, as I mentioned. So here's some good information for you. Fitness. We all want to get fit. So hot new exercise trend is called the fart walk. The fart walk, people who go by the fart walk, here's a couple of guys fart walking right here. They claim that a walk after dinner or after eating anytime forces you to pass a lot of gas, which promotes gut health and also gets you in shape quicker. So, if fart walking got you in shape, I'd be Hussein Bolt because, I fart when I walk, even when I don't eat. So I should be in fabulous shape here. I should be running marathons and being in the Olympics. But before you start, you have to use the proper form. The so the this is I have a photo here. This is not the proper form to walk while farting. This is a guy bent over, which you would think would facilitate more farting, but it actually doesn't. I think he's just bent over because of whatever he ate. This is actually the proper form. John, I know John's taking notes here. This is the proper form that you should have to fart walk so that you do it most effectively. And that is with your neck bent forward, so your head slightly forward. I couldn't get the whole body in here. But the most important part is you have your hands folded behind the fart emission area. How's that? Is that good, Karen?
I like that.
The fart emission area. So this person that we have a photo of happens to have gloves on while they're walking, while they're fart walking, which tells me that they're afraid. They must have eaten lunch at Taco Bell, and they wanted to protect their hands while still getting their fart walk in. So, John, do you fart walk?
No, not that I would admit to anyway.
This actually originated in Iran, of all places. I'm not sure why Iran would be the place that fart walking would be popular, but the get rid of that there. The let's see. Person with okay. Speaking of farts, I know I had a segue in here somewhere. So speaking of farts, the headline on a popular science website, which I found this week, the headline read, "When steering balls of poop, dung beetles use the stars to navigate." Now, I've tried that, but prunes work better for me when I need to steer a ball of poop someplace. Now, of course, we're talking about different balls of poop, obviously. Here's a picture of two dung beetles. Now that the one on the right, I don't know what that one is doing with his butt against the dung ball. It kind of looks like it's his dung ball, but I know it's way too big to have come out of that little beetle. The balls are 50 times the weight of the beetles, and they move them as much as 200 meters to get to their nest. So they move them a long way. But first they do a dance, and that's where the stars come in. They dance, and according to these scientists who discovered this, as they're spinning around, they are looking at the stars, and they're looking at the landscape in front of them and the stars above them, and determining where they're at in relation to all those things, so that they can roll their ball of dung to the right place. All I know is when I heard Dance of the Dung Beetles, that reminded me of every high school dance I ever went to.
Oh my.
Anyway, and I know John was a much better dancer than I was. We always talk about that. Yeah,
I don't
John
know
was
about that, Paul and Karen and audience. That's some high praise right there.
All right, let's move on. I still have another food story here, believe it or not. Eastbound lanes of Interstate 70 near Hidden Valley, Colorado. Beautiful area, by the way. Interstate 70 was shut down for hours this past week when a truck pulling a trailer full of carrots caught fire. Here's a photo of the fire after it was put out. millions and millions of charred and burnt carrots. The trailer is burnt beyond recognition. When asked to comment, a reporter asked an obviously distraught Bugs Bunny, who said, when asked what he thought caused it, he said, "What the FUD?" A cartoon reference there. The so yeah, that's exactly what happened. There's no other details. So a friend of mine on Facebook said there's got to be more to it. Who knew that carrots caught fire? But John, I think we saw the flaming carrots open for hot tuna back in the day. Do you remember that?
You have to refresh my memory on that, Paul, because some of those things, some of those memories are very distant.
We didn't have cell phones back then, so I don't have a photo of you dancing to the mellow tunes of hot tuna and the flaming carrots. So here's a better question for you, John and Karen and everybody out there. Which came first, Elmer Fudd or Bugs Bunny?
Ooh.
Well, I'm gonna say Bugs. I'm gonna say Bugs came first.
Bugs, good guess. Karen, what would you say?
I would think so too.
Yeah, I think that everybody would agree with that. Believe it or not, Elmer Fudd came first. A famous cartoonist by the name of Tex Avery came up with the original Elmer Fudd. Now, he doesn't look like I'll show you a picture of the Elmer Fudd, the modern Elmer Fudd, but he had the bald head, he had a big nose. His name originally was something else. It was Egghead. And they liked him so much they tried to work him into all the other cartoons and see where he would fit. And he finally ended up with Bugs Bunny. Bugs actually, the original Elmer Fudd came out in 1937. Bugs was invented in 1939, and the rest is history. And then they put Bugs and Elmer here, and this is the Elmer that we all recognize with the shotgun and the hunter's hat, and Bugs Bunny with his finger in the rifle. And we know what's about to happen next. In the barrel of the gun, Elmer will fire the gun. The bullets the gun will explode. Elmer will end up with a black face, and Bugs will say, "What's up, Doc?" or something like that. So there you go. There's a history of Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. I'm guessing everybody out there would have said Bugs Bunny over before Elmer Fudd, but I thought that was interesting. Tex Ritter, if you little side note here, if you're a cartoon fan and you want to see some old cartoons that are still funny today, look up Tex Avery on the internet and look up some of his old cartoons. Now, be prepared. Some of them would not pass the modern censorship in terms of you can figure out why. They're not dirty, but they just wouldn't, the modern audiences might not like them. But if you're of a certain age, Tex Avery was hilarious. Okay, Bigfoot news. I know John has been anxiously awaiting for Bigfoot.
I am anxiously awaiting.
Well, John, this first news story came to us from our friend Brian down in West Virginia. Okay. Sent me a text message this week. Oh, I should have forwarded it to you. He was so upset, just beyond himself, because we did not come to West Virginia last weekend for the big West Virginia Bigfoot Festival, 4th annual West Virginia Bigfoot Festival, 3-day.
We weren't in.
Yeah, we were working. We couldn't take a road trip. Here's a photo from the festival. This was now he didn't take this one, but this is a Bigfoot down in downtown. I'm not sure what city it is. I got it somewhere in Braxton County. So they have a West Virginia Bigfoot Museum down there. They even had they had music. They even had, this is for you, John, they had a Bigfoot calling contest. Now, really? I know John is always too embarrassed to show off his many talents that he has, but John is an excellent Bigfoot caller. I remember we were out on a walk one day, and I asked John I thought I heard a Bigfoot walking or knocking, and I said, boy, if only we could do a Bigfoot call. And John says, "Oh, I can do a Bigfoot call." And he stops and he takes a deep breath and he holds his mouth up in the air and he goes, "Yo, Bigfoot."
Oh,
You remember that, John?
I do. Yes, I do.
All right, so we missed it. Brian, I apologize. Give us a little more advance notice next year, and I promise we will try to come down for the big West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. Now, something else we missed. This is in New York, and we've talked about this before. There's a city in New York called Whitehall. Whitehall calls itself not Washington State, but Whitehall, New York calls itself the world center for Bigfoot sightings, to the point where in 2004 they passed an ordinance. City Council passed an ordinance that designated Bigfoot an endangered species in that area of New York. That's in the Adirondacks, if I'm not mistaken, and made it illegal to hunt Bigfoot within the borders of Whitehall. A few years later, and I know we covered this on the show, the town passed another resolution that named Sasquatch their official animal. So not a coyote, not a bear, not a squirrel. Sasquatch is the official animal of Whitehall, New York. Well, now they don't stop. They want people to know that this is the headquarters. So last week they got a sign. Bigfoot was recognized with a new historical marker in Whitehall, New York, installed next to a Bigfoot statue, kind of a depressing looking Bigfoot there. Yeah. Bigfoot, he lost his best friend, the Yeti or something. He's a terrible, long hair, it's almost John almost looks like a religious figure. I'm not going to say who like one of the apostles.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. One of the apostles at the Last Supper when all the food ran out and the wine. Anyways, but we're not here to talk about that. So the sign says a Bigfoot sanctuary, and it says, for centuries, local stories tell of sightings of giant hairy beasts that walk upright and leave huge footprints. Local law protects them. From the New York Folklore Center, William C. Pomeroy Foundation, 2024. So, you want to see where Bigfoot probably hangs out, you go to Whitehall, New York, and find that sign and sit down there next to the depressed Bigfoot, and he just might show up. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have any real Bigfoot stories other than those, but those are pretty real. So yeah. I do have another monster story. But first, I want to mention Parma, Ohio, because this putting up the sign reminded me of where John and I grew up, Parma, Ohio. Well known for a lot of things, but most well known for all the pink flamingos that are seen in front yards throughout the city of Parma. There were pink flamingos when we were growing up. There's pink flamingos in the front yards today. People love Parma, to the point where in the center of Parma, in a park that John and I used to play baseball and softball in, mm-hmm. There's a sign, a big Parma sign, and next to it, it was, in the photo, it is a 7-foot tall pink flamingo. So I have a picture of it here for those of you watching on YouTube. So you can see this beautiful bird that was stolen a couple of weeks ago. We may have talked about this. Three guys, they caught him. They said, oh yeah, we were drinking. They went and they tried to pull it down and they couldn't. So they cut it, but they didn't even do a good job. They left one leg. They cut the other leg.
Right. You can see that.
Somehow pulled the other leg up. And this was from the news. It says headline, pink flamingo near Parma script sign stolen and vandalized. So they're raising money now to replace it. But boy, you don't mess with pink flamingos when you're in Parma, because as soon as the news hit the community, look at all these pink flamingos that organized. They were looking for those guys everywhere. Yep. This was a mob of flamingos. I'm not sure what a group of flamingos is called, but we'll call this a mob. Either that or this is from John's birthday. The big tradition in Parma is to put one flamingo for every birthday in your front lawn. So, John, I don't know. Is your yard still big enough for you?
Yeah, yes, it is.
There was a bit of hesitation in your voice there, John.
I'm trying to qualify it. I'm trying to be truthful.
All right, just to show how popular monsters are, we've talked about the Mothman. Kinds of a number of people died when a bridge collapsed. Also in West Virginia, by the way, our friend Brian sent us some stuff about Mothman. There's a festival for Mothman down there too. But there was a Mothman sighting this past week that you would not believe at Build-A-Bear. The Build-A-Bear people are actually allowing people to come in and, oh, that's a walleye. They're trying to make the walleye the state fish of Ohio. Can you believe that, the walleye? So I had a walleye picture in here. I don't know. I always thought the state fish for Ohio was a politician fishing for bribes, but that's one of those only in Ohio things. So John, here you go. Here's the Mothman Build-A-Bear. So you can go to Build-A-Bear, and instead of getting a bear, you get a little black doll with horns on it, like the Mothman, and you can even get a T-shirt. It says the man, the moth, the lovable legend. This paranormal plush toy is inspired by the legend of the humanoid creature with glowing red eyes. The only this one is cuter and cuddlier. That's according to the ad for this thing. The website says it's a mysterious winged friend who appears by popular demand, or does he? This paranormal plush has soft black fur, bright red eyes, can be customized with outfits, sounds, scents, and accessories to make him even more unique. Do you know how popular this was? This Mothman Build-A-Bear sold out in hours. In hours around the country, people were dialing into the website, and within hours, every single one of them was sold. Now, it doesn't look anything like the real Mothman, which this statue was based on. So you can. This is from West Virginia, the area Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This is what most people think the real Mothman looks like, with claws and fang teeth and a giant wings. Not this cute, cuddly little thing over here. I'm not sure what that is, but anyways.
Is Build-A-Bear still marketing it?
Well, they're going to. Oh, John, they sold out. Of course, they're going to market it. They're just, they have to go to wherever they go to get those fuzzy little horns. That's probably the piece that they ran out of, is the horn. They don't put those on bears. So anyways, so there's our Mothman story for the week. Okay, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, normally John is our sports guy, but I happen to have a sports story here from the Northeast Ohio area that I wanted to talk about before we move on to John and his sport. So this comes from the Lake County Captains. You know that? Are you familiar with that team, John?
Yes. That's the minor league team that's up in Eastlake, Ohio.
And they're a Guardians minor league team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they're affiliated with Guardians.
So they've given the fans a whole new way to experience games at their field, the Classic Auto Group Park in, as John said, Eastlake, Ohio. On last Friday, the team unveiled a new row of seats. Oh, not Mothman. There you go. Here's a new row of seats, the Roto-Rooter toilet row. And it looks like there's 8 toilets in the front row. So there's some seats in front, but it looks like good seats. The 8 exclusive throne seats located behind home plate. Team officials say the toilet seats are super comfortable, elegantly designed, and offer unparalleled view of the action. All I can say is, if the seats are as good as they are, this really puts the P in VIP.
Oh my God. Oh.
Good.
Oh.
This would have been, John, this would have been perfect for watching the old Indians at the old Cleveland Stadium.
Yeah.
They regularly stunk up the place.
I'd agree. I would agree with you on that, Paul.
Yeah. So the Capitals, they're the Captains. They're a high A affiliate. They said the promotion is a groundbreaking first in minor league baseball, and they did it in conjunction with Roto-Rooter. They even have a little containers on the back where you can put magazines and stuff to read. Of course, because what else are you going to do while you're sitting on the toilet at the baseball game? You need something to read.
Oh my
Ticket
God.
Get a load of this though. Ticket holders in that row also get personalized attention from a dedicated bathroom attendant who will provide, get ready, not toilet paper, but mouthwash, combs, and gum throughout the game. Now, forget the toilets. John's a regular at the Cleveland Guardians game. John, I guess you would agree that there's an awful lot of fans who could use mouthwash, comb, and gum.
Well, yeah, it's kind of an added feature, I guess, or whatever, right?
Yeah, forget the toilet. Now, I'll ask you this: we have a mutual friend, Mel, who's an usher at the Guardians game. Do you think Mel would work if they had a toilet row at the Guardians games?
Yeah, I think he would. Sure.
I
Yeah,
think so. You probably have a good time with the people sitting in those.
sure.
Would you
Sure.
sit in one,
Um,
John?
yeah, I would. Yeah, I think I would. Yes.
Sure, of course you would. Especially if it was free and you got a comb. Well, the comb, don't need the comb, but gum and a mouthwash.
Yes, it is. Do you sit
No,
with?
what I mean by that is that John always wears his Guardians hat to the game. So of course he wouldn't need a comb.
Yeah, but so let me ask you this: do the people sit on the lid, the outer lid, or do they lift the outer lid up and they sit on the rim?
Boy, I sure
I was just thinking of that.
John, these were the only two photos I could find. They didn't have any photos online of people sitting on them. So I'm kind of hoping that they sit on the lid. But as I'm looking at this from the rear, so to speak, it looks like the seat part is padded as opposed to the lid. So I don't know. Maybe they do lift the lid and sit down. I don't know if I want to know.
The only way we would know, Paul and Karen, and audience, is we'd have to go to the game and
That's
sit
right.
Road trip.
Yep.
Road trip. John, you're in charge of that. All right, because you're our sports guy. And
All
that
right.
means that here we go. There's John's logo. It means it's time for What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo, my old buddy. But we've known each other since college. We're fraternity brothers. We've since then, John has always been my go-to guy for sports trivia. He knows all the stuff about sports. That's why he's our color commentator and host of What in the World of Sports. John always finds us a great, unusual sport. This week is no exception. John, what do you got for us this week?
Okay, Paul and Karen and audience, here we go. So our sport this week is a very new sport. And the name of this sport is cosmic baseball. Let me explain. With baseballs flying towards players at breakneck speeds, baseball isn't the kind of game that can be played in less than perfect lighting conditions. So,
Right.
a college summer baseball team called the Tri-City Chili Peppers of the Coastal Plain League in Virginia has been getting a lot of attention recently for hosting cosmic baseball. Using massive black light installations and UV reactive uniforms, balls, bats, and bases, the Tri-City Chili Peppers have been putting together cosmic baseball games that look like something out of a Tron movie.
Wow, yeah.
Now,
Glow in the dark. Glow in the dark. Look at that.
yes. Now,
By the way, we're looking at photos of the players in their
Right.
multicolored, two different uniforms, a home and away, I guess. I don't know.
right. But the team plays against each other. I mean, they're
Okay.
not competing against other teams.
I got
They compete with, amongst themselves. Now, despite the seemingly pitch black atmosphere, players claim that after a little bit of practice, playing under UV lights becomes second nature, as they're seeing the ball, no matter how hard it is hit or how fast it is thrown. Chris Martin, the owner of the Chili Peppers, says it is actually a lighter atmosphere than what most people think. And he claims you can see everything extremely well.
Wow.
Martin got the idea for cosmic baseball last season when a bunch of glow sticks were thrown onto a baseball field at a game that he attended. The whole thing looked way too hard and too expensive to implement until a team that he formed, the Chili Peppers, found a lighting company to help them out. The name of that company is JW Electric, and that company first developed a black light prototype and then went on to build a massive 18,500 watt black light installation.
Wow.
Now, securing UV reactive uniforms and equipment was another challenge, but the Tri-City Chili Peppers found some suppliers willing to make them for their use. And the team now even offers uniforms to spectators who want to stand out in the stands.
Wow.
The whole investment in Cosmic Baseball so far is estimated at $100,000, but the response so far has been well worth it. Videos of the first Cosmic Baseball game on June 5th of this year went viral online, and now the tickets for the following games on June 28th, which just took place, and July 20th are completely sold out.
Wow.
Now, people seem to love the novelty of this unusual game, and some have even called it they actually have called it the baseball of the future. Now, time will tell if this is anything more than a gimmick, but it is definitely worth keeping an eye on. And with black lights and UV uniforms, you can keep an eye on it at nighttime too.
Ooh.
That is so unbelievable, and yet it looks so cool.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. I think that's a really interesting way to play baseball.
Oh, it's truly novel, and
Yeah,
we'll see how much momentum it can gain.
yeah, yeah. And if the players, obviously it's up to the players, but if they say they can see the ball really well, then it doesn't
Yeah,
look like it's
the
dangerous.
players seem to indicate that they can perform, just as well. Again, getting acclimated to it doesn't take that much of an effort,
Yeah.
they say, and they enjoy playing.
Yeah, I was just looking at it to make sure to see that it looks like the foul lines and the bases are illuminated too. So
Yeah.
obviously.
So this team is almost a takeoff of the Savannah Bananas, because Savannah Bananas started their routines in the same type. I mean, not with blacklight, but they started their, comic type baseball, and Chili Peppers followed suit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were ahead of the curve. John was ahead of the curve there. He's introduced us to all those sports already.
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
we could convince the Bananas and the Chili Peppers to play each other in
It'd be sort of
exchanging
neat.
wouldn't it? Yeah,
That would be a game to see. That's for sure.
yeah. Sponsored by Kroger's or some vegetable vendor, produce department.
Peppers versus the Bananas.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the chili peppers and the banana. That sounds like a Mexican dessert. Um, well,
Wow.
anyway, this sounds like it would. This sounds like a fairly a sport that couldn't be done until recently because of the power of the lighting, for example, and the uniforms that really stand out in the black light. But John, I don't know if you remember this, but we participated way back when we were in college. We participated in something cosmic, a cosmic sport, slightly similar to cosmic baseball. Do you remember participating in anything like this?
I don't, but I'm sure that you'll be able to refresh my memory because you always do. With
Luckily, I have some photos.
photos.
Like all of our other stories, we were challenged by another fraternity to a cosmic game. The cosmic game was not baseball; it was cosmic beer pong. Now, I don't know if you, because that's what we used to play. It was beer pong. So they lined up cups that somehow glowed in the dark, and we were under black lights, and we were tossing ping pong balls, but we won. Even though we were probably worse at beer pong, at cosmic beer pong. And the reason why we won is because we had a secret weapon, and that was cosmic beer. We distracted the other players by drinking glow in the dark beer. As a result, champions. I don't know where they got this beer. We're looking for those of you not looking on YouTube, you should. We're looking at 5 bottles of glow in the dark beer, green, blue, red, orange, and another green, all glowing in the dark. Corona Light is one of them, but I don't recognize any of those other labels there.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
John, would you drink glow in the dark beer?
I never really thought much about that, to be honest with you, but never say never.
I'll tell you what, I know that we all drank green beer, and quite a bit of it.
On St. Patrick's Day, we did. Yes, absolutely.
There you go. All right. As always, thank you so much, John DiNallo, for What in the World of Sport. What a great sport, cosmic baseball. Look for it soon at a baseball diamond near you. If you're in the Northeast Ohio area, go out to East Lake and check out the Chili Peppers the next time they have a game that's not sold out. All right, so we've reached the end of our sports segment. That means it's time for everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the Co-host. We have fans around the world who send me emails saying they love that. The best part of the show is Bluff the Co-host. So I know they're waiting for it. Here it comes. For those of you who haven't played before, rules are real simple. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. Those were real. These may be real, may be a bluff. And it's up to you and Karen and John to decide real or bluff. John and Karen have their hands on the buzzer. Those of you who like to wager, place your bets now. And let's get right to story number 1. Everyone around the world is under a lot of stress lately, but people in China have come up with a new and reliable and economic way to deal with it. Sheep butt therapy. Just like the name says, sheep butt therapy involves patting and stroking the rear ends of sheep in fields, in petting zoos, or at livestock festivals. Psychologists say that the sheep buttocks feel bouncy and soft and claim that touching them is relaxing and incredibly addictive. There are even guides to the most relaxing breeds of sheep to pet, as well as the proper angles and intensity for the best results. If it comes to America, you'd better like sheep because sheep butt therapy is not covered by insurance. Okay, sheep butt therapy, where people pet the butts of sheep to reduce stress. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
I'm not patting anybody's butt, not even a sheep.
No matter how stressed out you are?
I'll be stressed. Doesn't matter. No. I hope it's a bluff. Yeah.
Okay. Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
My first thought was that it's too ridiculous, but the way things are going now, I think that's possible. And what country is this originating in?
China.
Where the sheep are. I'm going to say it's real. I'm going to say it's a real story.
Okay. Sheep. So John says it's hard to say. Sheep butt therapy from China is real. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say that congratulations go to John. That is a real story, believe it or not. Kids, I think it came from petting zoos, and as kids got older and they went back to petting zoos, they found out that they didn't like all the other animals, but when they were petting those sheep butts, they suddenly started to relax. And it's been scientifically tested. Of course, it's China, so not to make any political statements here, but take it for what it's worth. All right, John is ahead 1-0. Let's get right to story number 2. The most common forms of water pollution in most countries are industrial waste and farm runoff. But in national parks in South Korea, it's soup. Park officials were wondering why insects were dying off, which cause fish and plants in rivers to die off too. They traced the cause to the water being too salty because hikers and campers were dumping their leftover ramen noodle soups into the rivers. The ramen noodle soups may be popular, but until the wildlife returns to normal levels, they are now banned in all South Korean parks, and violators face a stiff fine and 40 lashes with a wet noodle. Okay, so what was causing the major cause of pollution in national parks in South Korea? People dumping their leftover ramen noodle soup that was killing plants, bugs, and fish. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
I think this could possibly be true, but I'm going to say it's a bluff. I don't think it's real.
John says it's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
Yeah, I don't think hikers are taking ramen noodle soup on their hikes with them. So I'm going to say it's the bluff.
Okay. Karen says it's a bluff too. Karen, do you hike? Do you
No.
hike? Oh, I'm just wondering. You sounded so positive that hikers would never
Well, you
do
would
something.
take water with you, not ramen noodles.
Okay, all right. So Karen and John both say that ramen noodle soup pollution in South Korea is a bluff. The judges say, sorry, that's a real story.
Oh,
It's a real problem. I don't know how much ramen soup they're taking into the woods with them, but it must be a lot to
that
kill
has
off.
to be a lot. Yeah.
That's why I thought it was a bluff. I mean, yeah, how much do they have to be taking large quantities, obviously.
No kidding. No kidding. All right. So it's still 1-0. John's in the lead, but points are double at round number 3. So there's a good chance Karen could catch up here. Let's get right to story number 3. With so few farms left, petting zoos are more popular than ever, but their owners say that animated movies and TV shows are ruining the experience by giving kids unrealistic expectations about what the animals should look like. Many say that kids are especially disappointed when the pigs aren't the bright pink color like Peppa Pig and other cartoon swine. So they're being forced to dye the skin on the live animals or face crying kids and the wrath of their parents. Some owners are also dyeing sheep a bright white and donkeys all gray. And one has even started painting black animal silhouettes on white cows to match the Holsteins kids see in fake memes and cartoons. Petting zoo owners say they long for the good old days when all they had to do was hose out the poop and keep the animals from biting the kids. Okay, so petting zoo owners complaining because kids want their pigs to be pink like Peppa Pig, so they have to dye the pigs pink. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
Well, I sure hope it's a bluff because I don't think it's fair to the animals. And I'm not a PETA person, but I'm going to be a PETA person right now because I think we should be looking at animals the way they really are. So please be a bluff.
Please be a bluff. Okay, Karen, if petting a pig reduce stress, would you pet a pig butt?
No, no butt.
Okay, Karen says that the dyeing pigs pink is a bluff. John, how about you?
You know, as much as I don't like the whole idea, as Karen is mentioning, I think it's real. I think some petting zoo people or owners or whatever are doing this so they can, have good attendance. So I'm going to say it's true.
The customer is always right. Is that
There
what
you
you're saying, John? Okay.
That's right.
So John says that the dyeing pigs pink is real. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, congratulations go to Karen. Not only did she get that right, but she got 2 points, which means she vaults into the lead and is the winner of this week's Bluff the Co-host.
Congratulations, Karen. Very good.
Well, thank you, John.
Well,
And you and your wife better study this week.
we're going to have to do it, even though with the holiday too, it's going to be tough now, right?
Yeah.
John's poor wife. That's right. This is a holiday week. She's going to have to sit there with the flashcards. And John, going over all the trivia. Oh, I'm sorry, Annette, but blame John. Don't blame us.
There you go. There you have it.
All right, so we've reached the end of another edition of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. I want to thank Karen Hale, our producer, co-host, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Thank you for all that you do for us, for uh, uh, for the show, and for all the podcasts that Karen has on newclevelandradio.net, including Avoid the Maze, which I appeared on this week. Please check that out as well. We had such a good time. I know you'll enjoy it, and you might even learn something. Who knows? But anyways, and also check out Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, our sponsor. There's a link there as well. You can find out all about the great coaching services that Karen provides. And as always, I thank my old buddy John DiNallo, host of What in the World of Sports, our color commentator, all around good guy, trivia guy. John, thanks for being here and for all your contributions to the show as well.
Oh, thanks again, Paul and Karen. And it's always fun to do the show. And again, we're in very good mode now. So let's keep the momentum going for next week.
There we go. That's right. Yeah. And as always, the reason why we do the show is our listeners. So we want to thank you the most. Thank you for listening in live, watching live, listening or watching in the future. You're the reason why we do this. I hope you have as much fun listening as we do putting the show on for you. I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe holiday weekend. For those of you in the United States, obviously it's 4th of July, Independence Day. For those of you in England, it's Thursday. And on that note, I think we're about ready to say goodbye for the week.